Hey, what's going on, guys? So we're going to be doing a deck profile on DRAGONSWORN, and it's going to be a budget deck profile, so that's great for everyone. That means more people can play it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we've got 2 Chaos Sorcerer, and we are not playing BLS. That's why there's 2 Chaos Sorcerer. Chaos Sorcerer is pretty good. It's not quite as good as BLS because BLS can remove face down. It has more attack. Also, it's a light target. But, you know, Chaos Sorcerer is still a very great card. Next up, we got a Dark Arm Dragon, so pretty easy to get those darks in the graveyard, especially if you can open up with Future Fusion. It really helps out. And what you're going to be able to do is you can set up for Dark Arm really easy when you have Future Fusion. Next up, we got a Dark Flare Dragon. Now, that allows you to get this card back from Light Pulsar's effect when he dies, but it mainly helps out with the dark targets in the graveyard because there's sometimes where you just don't have the amount of darks, and he just helps out just a little bit. Plus, his effect is actually pretty good. You can remove from play a Hornet if you need to from your opponent's grave, or anything else. Maybe your opponent's playing Dragon Lightsworn as well. You can remove those Red Darkness Metals. Get rid of those targets for their Light Pulsar. Pretty good stuff. And then next up, 2 Eclipse Wyvern, allows you to banish whatever you need to banish, and then perhaps get it back later when you go for your Light Pulsar. Plus, he has 1600 attack, so he has okay attack, but he is also a card that you can normal summon and get out Rarest Darkness Metal, so he does help out quite a bit with consistency as well. Next up, we're playing 2 Effect Failures. We're playing Aaron, and I still feel Aaron is just overall too solid. When your opponent goes for a first turn Zen Mains, or just makes Zen Mains at all, you just go charge Light Brigade. I'm going to get my Aaron, and I'm going to send that Zen Mains back to your extra deck. So he, or she, helps out quite a bit right there. And next up, we're playing Gores, because there's no traps in this version. Then we're playing an Honest, to help out. Remember that the token that Gores gets is a light, so you can use it with Honest. And next up, we're also playing Jane, and Jane really helps get over Thunder King, and a Thunder King is a little bit problematic for this deck sometimes, so keep that in mind. Save Jane for when your opponent has Thunder King, and it will help out quite a bit. Next up, we're playing 3 Light Pulsars, the heart and soul of the deck. This card basically runs the deck. I mean, once this card dies, if you have Rarest Darkness Metal in the graveyard, you're definitely going to want to get that and use Rarest Darkness Metal's effect to get back Light Pulsar Dragon, so it kind of like loops itself in that aspect. And then next up, we're playing 3 Lila, so a very good card. It allows you to basically have another MST, but in a monster form. Plus, it's a Lightsworn, so you can use the Soul Recharges to help speed up the deck, as well as get in the mill at the end of the turn. But basically, the reason why you play so many Lilas is because you want to get your Light Pulsar out safely. You don't want to risk getting Solemn Warning. Obviously, Torrential Tribute does not hurt Light Pulsar when there's targets for Light Pulsar to get back. But something like Lila will allow you to basically hit one back row and then try to get out your Light Pulsar a little bit safer. So remember, if you have Lila plus Light Pulsar, you generally want to summon Lila first if there's back row, and you want to just try to hit those. Next up, 2 Rarest Darkness Metal. You can opt to play 3. Personally, I prefer 2. I think it just works really well. It helps just with consistency, because sometimes when you draw too many huge monsters that you can't use, it does come problematic. So there's just 2 of those, and you have Future Fusion you can send to the graveyard with that, so it does help. If you open up Future Fusion in this deck, it really does speed up the deck and makes the deck so much better. But next up, we're playing 2 Raikou. Raikou is a great card to answer any problematic cards, and it does force the Shining, the Elemental Shining, to miss the timing, which is always great if you can force your opponent to miss timing. Next up, we're playing Sangan, and the reason why Sangan is here, yes, you only have very limited targets. However, adding Honest or adding Raikou sometimes can help out so much. Usually you'll want to go for Honest if you already have control over the game, but sometimes if you just have too many cards in your hand that you can't use, adding a Raikou definitely helps, because it helps get the mill in. It helps destroy any problematic cards on the field, like I mentioned earlier. Or if you're playing against, let's say, a deck that is effect heavy, kind of like Wind Up, I would say. Also Dino Rabbit, if they haven't set up for their play. Adding Effect Failure definitely can help as well. And plus, Sangan, doesn't miss the timing, and that's why it's really awesome. And next up, we're playing 2 Tragoedia, and Tragoedia helps out, helps you kind of survive essentially, because there is no traps in here. You do have 2 Veilers here, kind of as hand traps, and then you have the Gores and Honest as well, because Honest is a hand trap. And Trag just helps you survive. Sometimes you have those cloggy hands, or you can send a card to the graveyard and take your opponent's monster. So very good in that aspect. And then this deck is really fast, so I mean, generally you won't need to have traps, because you want to go through your deck as fast as possible and set up for the Light Pulsar and Rarest Darkness Metal in the graveyard. Next up, we're playing Allure of Darkness for speed. We got the Charge Life Game for speed. We got a Dark Hole to get rid of any problematic cards. And then Future Fusion. That should be self-explanatory. We're running 2 Gold Sarcophagus just to help get you that Future Fusion, because I feel like, that card is great. If you already have Future Fusion, there's tons of other great cards you can go for. You can go for things like Light Pulsar, you can go for things like Dark Armed, Chaos Sorcerer. There's a lot of great cards. Or Gores, maybe if you kind of have a bad hand, you just, you don't think your opponent can OTK you, maybe they're playing anti-meta. It does help out. And then next up, Heavy Storm, Reborn, 2 MSTs just to get rid of Skill Drain, because Skill Drain can hurt the deck just a little bit, especially if you're playing against Dark Worlds, because if Dark Worlds already have the field spell, unfortunately Red Eyes Dark Dispel, even being 2800 attack, cannot attack over the Grapha when it is 3000 attack. So it really does help against Dark Worlds, which is a very popular deck as well. Next up, we're playing 1 Duel just to help out with consistency. And then we're playing 3 Soul Recharge. And for the last card, Monster Reincarnation. And I really like this card because when you drop Dark Arm Dragon and you have Monster Reincarnation, I usually drop Dark Arm first because they will always Solemn Warning this card, they'll Solemn Judgment this card. And if you just go, oh, let me just get it back, and they've already paid their life, and then you summon Lila and pop the other one, and then, it's just golden from there. And I feel like, if you can add back a Light Pulsar, it's just really good. Or just anything really that you would need for the situation. Using Honest multiple times in games is just really game breaking. Adding Gores back, I think this card is really good in this deck. But yeah, and as far as the side deck, it's not the actual side deck. It's kind of like cards you can decide to actually main deck if you have them, or if you want to just change it up a little bit. I will say that hands down, take out one if you have Blackluster Soldier. Take out 1 Chaos Sorcerer and put in a Blackluster Soldier, because hands down he's better. It's not really like questionable really. I mean, I guess you could say I want more darks in the graveyard, but realistically, Blackluster Soldier is just overall way too good. And let's just go through them real quick. I'll just scroll by them. You guys should know them. They're pretty meta cards. Yeah, so obviously you wouldn't just put 1 Tour Guide. But yeah, you got Bottomless, a great card. And as far as the extra deck, you realistically don't need anything except for 5-headed dragon. But I mean, if you have any of the Exceeds or Synchros, go for some of those. I would say you don't really need anything. I mean, I guess you can go for Utopia if you have like a Lila plus like a Jane. I mean, I guess you could put Blade Armor Ninja, because Aaron plus Jane are both warriors, so it can be useful, maybe super conditional, but in the off chance that you were able to pull it off, it would be not so bad. But yeah, so this has been the deck profile for a budget version of the DRAGONSWORN, and it is a great deck by all means. You can top with this if you're looking to go to regionals with it. It is a very good deck, even though it is a budget deck. It's still a great budget deck. But thanks for watching, guys. Asian Ice White Dragon, signing out.